Hello and good evening. I'm Sulhi Azman and here's Khoo Chuang, and this is Market Matters today. Companies in the news. We have Maybank, or Malayan Banking Berhad, as if you want to be a bit more precise. Close up 1 cent or 0.2% higher at RM64 today. Now, Maybank is Malaysia's biggest bank and the most valuable company by market value with a market cap of 84 billion ringgit. Anyway, that's not what we're going to talk about. The most important thing today is that they announced their 4-quarter earnings and FY 2015 earnings today. Now, how does the earning looks like, Chuang?
Well, they reported Q4 net profit that ended last year that fell by 14.5% to 1.65 billion ringgit from 1.93 billion a year earlier. The reason were higher allowances for loan impairments and net insurance claims. And considering the fact that most of their business is done in Malaysia, what they call the community financial services portion, I think maybe there were some loans that went bad in the mortgage houses as well as for car loans and maybe for personal and credit cards as well.
Right, correct. And I think we've also been seeing that some oil and gas are also on the verge of getting their loans impaired by the banks. But anyway, if you look in the full year 2015, Maybank posted a modest 1.8% increase in net profit to 6.8 billion ringgit from 6.7 billion ringgit a year ago. Now, this is despite a 13.6% growth in revenue to 40.6 billion ringgit compared to 35.7 billion ringgit in FY14. Now, besides higher allowance for impairment loss, some 1.2 billion ringgit or 12.9% increase in overhead also contributed to the lower earnings. Now, Chuang, for the outlook, right, the bank is targeting, made quite an interesting KPIs, right? Return of equity of 11 to 12% and loan growth of 8 to 9%. Can they manage to get this in this current challenging environment?
Well, they did mention that loans growth in Malaysia is going to moderate to about 6 to 7% from 7 to 8% in 2015. And this is a long way from the days when we used to say 13, 14. I think public bank used to see 16, 17% loans growth a couple of years ago. So they're trying to target 8 to 9% internally as a group loans growth target. But they expect the industry and for the country to do about 6 to 7% in Malaysia. So that's obviously going to be quite tepid from a growth perspective because they also see that GDP is going to be at about 4.3%. That's right in the middle of where the government is. The government reckons 4.0 to 4.5. Maybank reckons 4.3. And they actually reckon that the Bank Negara might lower interest rates by about 25 basis points in the second half of this year to support slowing growth.
Right. Okay. So that's one contrarian view that we have from the bank. And just very quickly, today Sime Bank Berhad, they actually the second largest bank by assets reported a 4th quarter earnings where the earnings net profit jumps on higher income and low provisions. Chuang.
Yeah, I think there's two broad reasons for that, right? Number one is, of course, they've done some kitchen sinking. They've gotten rid of couple thousand people. Obviously, not good news for them, but they've managed to get these costs off their balance sheet, and maybe they've had a better cost management as a result. And the other reason potentially is the fact that Bank Niaga in Indonesia has done really well. President Jokowi's efforts to reinvigorate the economy has done really well for them.
Yeah, and the group CEO Tengku Zafrul said that the bank was working towards starting Vietnam operations by end of 2016, and they will continue to see challenging operating environment. And I think it's a very standard, news for most banks where they are facing margin compressions and also erosions in income due to several factors. But anyway, just to take it home all the way, today both Maybank and CIMB announced their 4th quarter and FY 2015 earnings. It's a bit of mixed result where CIMB saw quite a jump in net profit, while Maybank saw a slight dip in the 4th quarter earnings, and as it counts allowance for asset impairments and overhead expenses, and of course other things that involve into that. But hoping that Maybank will be able to meet the target of achieving loans growth of between 8 to 9%, while ROE of between 11 to 12%. Now, moving on to Maybank's sister company by virtue of the common shareholder PNB Permodalan Nasional Berhad, where we have Sime Darby Berhad today. Now, the stock was closed down 4 cents or 0.5% lower at 760 cents today. Now, the broker's call today was brought to you by Sime Research, Alliance DBS Research, and also MIDF Research. Year on year, the stock has been on a yo-yo trend because of exposure to crude palm oil prices, and it has fallen by 17%.
Yeah, so net profit dropped by 37.5% in the second quarter, and for the first half, net profit fell by about the same, 36%. In both cases, revenue was higher, and I think the reason is because in their plantations division, which is I think 6 or 7 ringgit out of every 10 incurred in revenue terms, they've seen, of course, big price drops, high manuring costs as well, replanting costs that rose by more than a third. Output grew 18% to 2.6 million tons, but of course prices were bad and industrial earnings were hit by restructuring charges of 14.5 million ringgit. Property division earnings also fell by about 20%. And of course, the only bright spot, I guess, in a small way, was the motor division. They sold had strong sales in China, Singapore and Vietnam, but not so in Malaysia.
Yeah, and they've also shelved or indefinitely postponed the Sime Darby Motor IPO due to the challenging conditions. But now, Chuang, this company, right, Sime Darby, they have been getting flag from 3 ratings agencies. Moody's, Fitch and S&P has threatened to downgrade their rating if Sime Darby does not resolve the gearing issues. Because currently, Sime Darby has a borrowing of 19.58 billion ringgit, equivalent to 61% of their gearing ratio. But cash has also depleted to 3.47 billion ringgit, from 5.1 billion ringgit previously. And because of the higher borrowing in US dollars, they might want to take a look at refinancing it. Now, let's have a look at what the analyst thinks today. Chuang, CIMB, they maintain the whole rating, lower target price of 7.87, and they say that they saw a support to the share price due to the decent dividend yields and plan to unlock value of the assets.
At Alliance Research, they reckon Sime is still a long-term story. They've maintained their whole call with the sum of parts target price of 745. Now, that's slightly lower from where we are right now, but a couple of things to note about Sime Darby. They have told the analysts that they might do an asset monetization strategy, which involves selling their assets. And I think a couple of income assets in Australia and Singapore are being considered. And they also might raise some Islamic bonds to the tune of about 3 billion ringgit. So that's going to give them some cash to reduce their debts to 54% of assets, I think, by the end of, from the 64% we saw at the end of last year.
Yeah, if you look at the MIDF, right, they maintain neutral with a lower target price of 7.30 today. MIDF also today warned of emerging earnings risks for FY 2017 because Sime Darby has targeted the KPI to achieve net profit of 2 billion ringgit. But, the current net profit is only accounting for 30% of the full year target. So MIDF says, despite this, they also expect better prospect in second half of the year for the plantation due to higher CPO prices, persistent low coal price. That should also recover for them as well. Now, in summary, Sime Darby is actually too big a conglomerate, hit with slowdown in almost every division. There's still some bright spots in the motor divisions and it's gearing its booking rating agencies. Hopefully, the group will be able to pare down debt soon. That's all for today, folks. For more information, you can log into our website, www.asiamarkets.com, where you can also sign up for free copies of the Age Financial Daily, which will be sent to your mailbox. Alternatively, you can also pick up the copy of these newspapers at any suitable newsstand. I'm Sulhi Azman, here's Khoo Chuang. Thank you for watching and have a good night.